right, that puts us at the bottom of the hour, so we can go ahead and get started here. Welcome to the webinar, where today we'll be discussing the local buying trends that are affecting your bottom line. It goes without saying that the last year has brought about huge changes to just about every industry and workplace that exists. My name is Patrick, and I'm in product marketing, and my colleague joining me today is Kevin, our VP of Sales. We're excited to be chatting with you today because of our unique position in the market and our learnings over the last year. We're with PowerChord, a company that's been in business for over 20 years, working with brands in a number of industries to help make their digitally driven sales and marketing efforts more effective. We've got tens of thousands of data points in the form of independent dealers and resellers at the dozens of brands we do business with. And we're excited to share some of those things we've learned in the last 2 decades, and especially over the last year. So jumping on in, we've got this quote here, and I think this does a really good job of bringing that sentiment together. Every brand we work with at PowerChord here, every dealer we work with, we're out to help them find their success. And hopefully before we leave this chat today, you'll have some ideas on steps that you can take to improve your advantage in the marketplace.
Patrick, I think when I see this slide, I think about a bridge and like connecting the past to the future. We had this conversation recently about, here I am sitting in my home in the home office. I feel like it's a bunker. I've been here for 10 or 11 months now, and I'm like many people, we're adapting and adopting what we must do in this environment to how to execute in the workplace. And retailers across the country are really having to do the same thing. So as I adapt and adopt what I'm doing at home, and we know that browsers are doing it the same way, I think retailers can think about building that bridge. Then this success, this competitive advantage, to speak up in this quote, it could be a future reality. So I'm interested to hear more about these trends myself.
Perfect. That sounds great. Let's jump right in and start talking about this. So this will be the agenda that we covered today. And we all know we've got a global pandemic that's well underway. We're going into our first full year of seeing major changes. And that includes the world shifting to online. Potential customers are spending more and more time than ever on their computers and their mobile devices. And as they continue to embrace those digital channels in 2021, we wanted to review a few key areas that you should keep in mind when bolstering your online presence. Kevin and I will take you through this agenda listed here. And if you've got questions along the way, feel free to pop those into the chat, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I think, for me, when we talk about this path forward, like I said a minute ago, it's already been 10 or 11 months for a lot of us, and we're adjusting to the new reality, and I think we're all trying to figure out what that looks like. And brands are also trying to do that. I think what's going to be incumbent upon them is how to replace what used to be personal experiences, the personal experiences that we can't have or aren't having today. Like, how is that going to show up online? How are they going to replace or augment that? So let's definitely delve into that and see if we can shed some light.
Perfect. That sounds great. First up on our list is chatting about search function and product details on websites. So we know that more time is being spent browsing the web and discovering new products. So it's more important than ever that we're creating a strong online product presence throughout 2021 and forward, and that we're providing local retailer information and inventory information wherever possible. It shows that almost 90% of consumers begin their purchase research online, regardless of whether they intend to eventually purchase online or go to a store, a bricks and mortar place, and purchase in person. So 90% of people are starting that search online. We need to make sure it's easy for them to find what they're looking for. People won't spend more than a few seconds trying to find those things, so we need to make sure we're doing everything we can to make it as easy as possible for them. People have got short attention spans. They're going to go try to find what they're looking for 5 or 10 seconds, and they're going to click on the first thing that they see. So you're going to hear me mention this a lot today. Many of the trends we're going to look at focus on the ability to be found online and doing what we can to make sure that's as easy as possible.
Patrick, when I started here 5 years ago, that trend was something in the low 70% range. A couple years into my tenure, it became 80, and it was 85, 80 plus, 85% plus. Now it's over 90, and of course, we always track that at the $500 mark. We were looking at brands and products that were, let's call them, high consideration, and so at the $500 mark, that was already north of 85%. Now we're tracking towards 90 because what else are people going to do? Like, how are you going to replace that product experience, that touch point that people would normally have out in the marketplace? So it doesn't surprise me, and basically hundreds of thousands of people, not millions of people, just joined the party. So it's incumbent upon us to get our act together in that regard right now.
Yeah, totally agree. So you see a few things on your screen that can help, things to be thinking about when people are entering a search query. Make sure when they type something in, they're getting the results they're expecting and not a no results found page or completely different products from what they're searching for. Product descriptions are more important than ever. Maybe it was okay to get by with a picture and a title of what you were selling before, but without the ability to go and see those things in person, doing a lot more research online, those descriptions are more important than ever, that they're detailed, that they include specifications, related products, things like that, and the ability to search for products locally. So if you're selling through a network and people have to go somewhere or buy through a specific channel, you want to make sure it's easy for them to figure out where to make that purchase and where possible include information like pricing, availability, and things along those lines.
I think people are expecting sort of a frictionless, tidy atmosphere. You make a good point about product queries. So, in a product query, obviously we want to lead them to a page where there's great product, clean product detail, but then commensurate, there has to be a call to action that makes sense. Like, what's the actionable step on that page if you're actually going to convert that traffic? So I love that you brought that up.
Perfect. So moving next, we want to talk about accessibility a little bit and how that factors into what we're doing online. So we want to really be thinking, perhaps it was stuff that's easy to fall and sweep under the rug before, but in 2021 and going forward, we really want to concentrate on making sure the digital presence that we're putting forth to customers is accessible to everybody. And while doing that is not only the right thing to do, it's also the legal thing to do. 2020 saw lawsuits and demand letters relating to the accessibility of websites being filed at the highest pace in recent history, especially as COVID-19 drove an increased consumer reliance on the internet. I really like the stat we show here, the growth rate of 49% online shoppers 65 years and older. And with those shoppers showing the fastest growth rate in online shopping, it's more important than ever that our digital presence meets standard accessibility guidelines. Things like providing the ability to use a screen reader or allowing a user to use a keyboard to navigate through sites are just a couple examples. So if you're interested in checking out your own website's accessibility, if you've got a website out there today, Google actually offers a free tool that's built directly into their Chrome browser. That tool is called Lighthouse. While it won't be able to reveal every single little accessibility issue on its own, it can help give you a detailed overview of a few key accessibility factors on your site, and it takes less than a minute to run. A quick Google search for Lighthouse will show you how to access that tool within Chrome and how to use it. And this is something I'd recommend you making time for in the next few weeks. It's a simple and it's a free exercise that can help you focus on an increasingly important aspect of your digital footprint. You definitely don't want to be caught on the receiving end of one of these lawsuits because your site isn't up to snuff.
Yeah, it's a fast-moving space out there between, the ADA scare from a couple years ago to the GDPR. Shortly after that, there's been a lot of things that were required of us in the web space to tidy up and make sure that our brand customers were compliant and in good standing. But the bullet the area that you have highlighted there is particularly interesting to me because I think of my parents in this time. They're in their 70s, late 70s, and when you're talking about the growth of accessibility and who our new customer, our new browser is, my folks still they don't have an iPhone or a digital device like that or smartphone. They actually have a home line still with a cord so that they can walk around the house. And this is what they've known for years and years and years. But in the last 11 months, it's brought about experiences with Airbnb, Uber Eats, online prescription medications, and even taking an occasional Uber. some of which were on borrowed cell phones, mind you. But it's fascinating to me the level of engagement that they've experienced in the last year. It's just been crazy, and I have to assume that their peer group is experiencing pretty similar things. So if that demographic is in your wheelhouse or your sweet spot, it has to be tended to. So not just making sure you're compliant, but that accessibility piece is huge.
Couldn't agree more on that one. So next up on the agenda is to touch on mobile functionality. So mobile internet traffic has been probably just about evenly split with desktop traffic since around 2017. So it's been 50-point-something% desktop, 50-point-something% mobile. But over the last year, we've really seen this number tick up on the mobile side. And researchers expect that trend to accelerate, with over 25% more mobile traffic being seen in the next 4 years alone. And being mobile ready on your sites and on your digital presence isn't just important for making it easy for someone to use your site to do research on your brand and your products. That is really, really important, but it's also critical to being found online. Search engines actually penalize websites that aren't mobile friendly. This penalty that's assessed on your brand pushes your result lower and lower in a shopper's search results, making it less likely for you to be seen and eventually be clicked on by that shopper. So going right back to the ease of being found, if you're getting penalized by search engines, your listing might be pushed to a second or third page on a search engine. And I don't know about you, but I don't usually go past the first 3 or 4 listings on my Google search. So ensuring that you've got that strong mobile presence makes it easy for people to use your sites and make sure that you're not getting hit and getting points deducted and getting pushed down the list on the search results.
2 things on that, Patrick. First, I would have thought, if I would have had a crystal ball 11 months ago, I would have looked at this environment and said, this trend towards increase in mobile usage would slow, and maybe slow significantly if I knew that we were all going to be at home for this amount of time. But given that it held and even increased in many areas, that it's indicative of a preference that a lot of folks are even at home where they have choice and options and devices, and they're still migrating towards the one in their pocket or in their hand or on the end table. So they're doing searches, and I think the expectation of the browser is higher than ever. And to not appreciate that or understand that or be mobile first, mobile priority, I think to ignore that is basically to add friction into what should be a frictionless experience. And it really needs to be tended to. Just can't be adding friction.
Yeah, I think it's the confluence of things. I think it's the pandemic part of it driving that. But if we think about what's coming in the next couple of years, 5G is the big talking point. It's going to roll out. It's going to make using the internet on your phone a lot easier, a lot faster, and people are going to start to defer to that more and more. So, got to be prioritizing mobile.
Cool.
Moving on to talk about video and visual advertising. So, visual commerce is something we expect to be another one of these 2021 shopping trends that really helps to enhance a touchless shopping experience. We think about pre-pandemic, people love to be able to go to a store, to be able to walk in, to touch and feel the products that interested them. But without being able to do this, brands that advertise online have been finding it more and more beneficial to include more media on their pages and their product listings. Things like using animated GIFs and product demo videos can be really helpful in being able to quickly show how a product is. So we've got this stat here. 60% of consumers say that watching product videos gives them the confidence to make a purchase. And we've got our brands. We've got a couple. One that uses GIFs. It's a 5-second repeating the loop, but it does a much better job of conveying how their product works than, those 5 seconds do more than 5 paragraphs, I think, could in trying to explain through text what happened. So think about trying to substitute those in-person experiences where someone could come into a shopping place, pick up your product off the shelf, turn it around in their hands. Do what you can to substitute that experience online. Include better pictures, more pictures from different angles, specifications, GIFs, videos. All that goes a long way to helping substitute that in-person experience.
I might push back on that point a little bit and say that I think it's almost universally true, even pre-pandemic, to your point, it was universally true that that was a better experience, but it's exacerbated by the fact that some of those options have just been taken away from us. So, especially when you have like a feature-rich product, a high consideration, complex product or service, maybe a product that's sold socially or something like that. How are you going to do a better job than video? I mean, don't show me a spec of a jet ski. Show me a jet ski in action. Show me maybe a social environment, or show me a video of the quality of cut of a lawnmower, not like the specification of the deck size or the blade tip speed or something like that. Show me how to change the chain on a chainsaw, rather than list some detailed specs about how the chainsaw is built or something like that. Just improvements that are probably universally true, but even more impactful in a COVID environment trend like you're seeing now.
Yeah, those are some great points. Speaking of social, interactive social content's the next thing up on the docket. So social, to me, is just another aspect of being easily found. I know I've probably said it 10 times so far in the 15 minutes we've been on this presentation, but we keep going back to being easily found, easily found, easily found. So brands are getting really good at placing ads and content that feels natural in a social media setting like Instagram or LinkedIn. I know for me, I get caught scrolling on one of my feeds, and put into this feed is content from a brand. It's either an ad, some sort of sponsored content, but it feels really natural and it doesn't take me out of the experience I'm having seeing content posted by people I'm connected with. It just feels like it belongs, right? It matches that same aesthetic. It matches the same types of language and the other types of things I'm seeing on those platforms. So for us at PowerChord, we look at ways to seamlessly collect lead information directly within social media platforms, or to find ways to siphon customers seamlessly from those social media platforms into our sticky sites and keep them engaged. So I know a couple of our brands advertise on Facebook, and they use that Facebook ad to gather lead details directly within Facebook. So a shopper never leaves Facebook, but they're able to express interest and connect with a local reseller of the product they're looking for directly within an ad.
Yeah, I would say that I like the fact that you spoke of our sites as sticky and these particular 5 social environments as seamless, because I agree, I see it the same way. This activity is happening anyway. They are trolling, browsers are browsing, and there is an opportunity to present valuable content to them and then splinter them off onto a sticky site. And I think to ignore that they're out there or to not be a part of that journey with them is to, again, add friction. I think, we're trying to be frictionless. We're trying to show up where the customer is. We want to meet the customer where the customer lives and join them on their journey. And when appropriate, bring them over to our sites. Hopefully the sites are sticky and we can capture them. But it's really about capturing them in their experience.
All right, so next up, let's take a quick peek at values-based digital marketing. So values-based digital marketing is captured by the things you see here, these points: health and safety initiatives, eco and green initiatives, and political views. And the stat that's here is really powerful. Research shows that 41% of consumers intend to buy more locally in the future. This is a trend that is definitely happening over the past decade or so, right? We've had Small Business Saturday that's sponsored by American Express, and there's been a growing interest in shopping locally. So we see it, the ability to support independent local businesses as being a call and action in itself for a consumer. Savvy local shops and retailers that sell locally are those that are best positioned to serve conscious consumers, and they do really well focusing their messaging around the benefits of shopping locally, both those benefits to their community and the benefits to the planet. So 2020 and 2021 doubled down on messaging that drove home the importance of shopping local and keeping those jobs and dollars in local communities rather than sending those things off to some faceless, nameless corporation at the time. On top of that, a lot of the brands we work with have a large service component, engaging with those customers at the local level to make the sale, and then to follow that up with lifetime service is exactly the type of relationships that shoppers crave and that brands are really well to do at capturing those local dollars.
This slide really speaks to me, Patrick. This is our family right here, and I'm not pushing any thoughts or agendas on anybody, but we're a fairly green, eco-friendly, homeopathic kind of environment and social. I'd say consumer conscious, right? So it's really important to us who we're buying from as much as what we're buying. And given the choice between the two, we'll go out of our way to buy from the one that feels good, and we do the research up front in advance. So for whatever demographic I represent, it's more than just a website and the brand fit and feel, but it's really about the DNA or even personality, even potentially the culture of a company. Those are things that really speak to me. So I want to drill into that. And if the information is available to me, it's accessible, then awesome. Then I can ingest it. But if it's not available to me, I've got to guess. And then I'm likely to drift over to a social environment to try to find out, which is back to the point from a minute ago. Show up, if I'm the browser, show up where I live. If you don't introduce the info to me on a website, then get it to me socially so I can figure out if you're eco or green or capital conscious or not. I need to understand that if I'm going to buy from you. So meet me where I am on the last slide, and try to take responsibility for that brand DNA. When somebody thinks of your brand, it's the everything. It's how you feel, what you think, what you remember, complaints you heard, compliments you heard. That brand DNA is significant. And if you don't have a vehicle to help manage that brand DNA, you're at a disadvantage. So hence, platforms and things like that can help you expand your reach and syndicate the right message out to your clients and partners. I think it's really critical.
Yeah, and be proud of that stuff. Don't hide it in the footnotes of your website at the very bottom behind a bunch of additional clicks. So promote those things. Those are things people care about. At the macro level, I think, especially at big brands, Fortune 500 companies, we hear the term ESG, right? The environmental, social governance, moving more and more. They're bringing that up on investor calls. People are really interested in what's the ESG of this company. So, just because we're smaller brands, because we're local, we still want to promote those things. Those are things that people are shown to care more and more about. So make it easy for them to see that. Don't hide it from them. And, you'll be the next one that comes up on the back of their mind when they're thinking where to go to make that purchase.
100%.
So I thought we could bring this home at the end by connecting some of these trends we just talked about back to what we do here at PowerChord and how we can help brands who might be looking to take advantage of these things in 2021. So the first big thing we do here at PowerChord is create this local online presence. So what we can do is provide every reseller location that works with the brand a site that's accessible, that's mobile optimized, so hitting on those two key trends, and that gives a brand a place to drive marketing traffic. These sites not only provide interested shoppers a place to go and learn more about your brand and your dealer after clicking an ad, it also gives them a place to submit lead information and make a direct connection with a local reseller. With our PowerChord sites, they feature only the target brand, and that helps eliminate distractions that shoppers face when they're flooded with competitors on traditional dealer sites. And with brands' permission, resellers can customize pieces of their sites with their contact information, their hours, upload some pictures. This ensures that the most up-to-date data is always available, and it offloads that manual task of directory management from a brand.
I always like to frame it as an imagine statement. So, saying that just a little differently, imagine you had the ability to control your entire digital ecosystem. Imagine you could present ads to people where they live, where they show up, whether it be social or just online. And, imagine that you could bring those folks back to your web environment and then be able to monitor the analytics across your entire ecosystem. That would be a really powerful tool. Have data and insights into every single location, every single touch point. You could drive, with that kind of data, you can be really powerful. Stay advanced, stay on top of trends, and drive future results.
Another big thing we do here at PowerChord is lead distribution and management. So directly built into our PowerChord platform are the tools to manage leads. So the sales leads that are collected from your sites are automatically and instantaneously delivered to a reseller, who then receives a notification with that lead's details. This unlocks the ability to quickly follow up, which research has shown time and time again is key to closing a sale by jumping on that lead while it's hot and not letting it cool off and go stale. So our platform can also be configured with different lead statuses that match a brand sales funnel. So resellers can go in, report status updates, keep track of all their leads, even take notes on leads to keep that process moving towards a sale. And at your brand level at the top, you maintain full insight into leads all the way across your network and can even integrate a CRM you have at your brand level to extend that functionality.
Yeah, I think when I was talking about that Imagine a second ago, so we imagine having a consistent dealer web network, and then you can imagine what it would look like to be able to pop ads up everywhere where they're supposed to be. This visibility and distribution I'm talking to is now imagine you have the ability to monitor all the traffic and activity. So the lead comes in. If I'm requesting information on a chainsaw or a lawnmower or outboard motor, you know me, you know who I am, and you can see if there's movement in the progression of that sale. You can see who was involved in the distribution of the lead. You can see whether it closed or not. And at the end of the day, you can determine whether or not the ROI on this endeavor is paying off or not. Whether you're positive ROI, you're selling, investing in traffic, you're seeing leads come through, you're closing the loop. It's really a wonderful distribution and management system.
Moving to our last slide here, local digital marketing is that last key piece. So marketing at the local level is key to making the most of these opportunities and these trends that we just covered throughout 2021 and beyond. As Evan mentioned earlier, right, if you're not appearing in searches locally and you're not driving interested shoppers to your brand, you're going to miss out on those shoppers. So here at PowerChord, we're equipped with a full-service digital marketing team in-house that's skilled at maximizing the impact of your local digital campaigns. But if you've already got a marketing team in-house, if you're doing that marketing already, or you've worked with an agency already, we can plug those efforts into our platform here at PowerChord and amplify those results that you're after. With PowerChord, each of your local dealers has its own lead generation engine, and they're empowered with the tools to capture, monitor, measure, and manage those leads, driving a pronounced lift in your sales organization and the numbers that you're driving towards.
I think we see a lot of our customers initially start out on like more lead generation focused tactics, of actually driving lead into the system. And as our clients mature and grow, they'll often venture into other channel tactics to address other KPIs, like potentially more awareness related activities or things like that. So, we really run the gambit in terms of the not only the block and tackle lead generation activities, but the other elements that would be expected of an agency-like activity. So whether you're just starting out and trying to drive leads for your dealer network, or whether you're trying to manage some brand awareness and brand identity, I think PowerChord's got your back.
Perfect. All right, that concludes what we have prepared today. Let's see what kind of questions have popped to our chat. So the first one here asks, what kind of companies are these tactics best suited for? And I think what I'd say is everything we covered today is important to, or should be important and on the radar of any brand or anyone who sells and does any sort of advertising online. Now, whether you sell your products online and allow someone to check out, whether you're just doing advertising online, whether you just have a website to talk about your brand online, anything you do in the digital space that's outside of a brick and mortar building, it's really important that these trends are on your radar, that you're thinking through these things, and doing what you can to take advantage of these trends in 2021.
I think I'd add, when you say best suited for, that is a big bucket, and you're absolutely right that all brands in that space should take responsibility for their activities and have a good plan for execution and feedback. In terms of maybe where we apply best, multi-location, local entities who sell, let's call it high consideration products, things that really need to be explored and discovered, products and services that need to be understood, products and services that possibly are a little more expensive, but require some detail, some sleuthing, some investigation. That's where we really shine, because we can help tell that complex story, whether it be in print or with video or what have you. Getting that touch point out there and meeting the customer where they live, I think are areas where we shine.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, PowerChord really does fit best with those companies who sell through some sort of network, who have a brand at the top and sell their products locally through resellers, distributors, local mom-and-pop shops. That's where we can really help connect the powerful message that's at the top with the brand with what's going on locally with all of those dealers.
Well, the busy dealers, is, dealers that sell a lot of different products. They have a bit of a grocery store mentality, like I need to have X number of a certain kind of gadget so that I give my browsers choices or options. It creates a lot of white noise, right? For any brand that's sold in an environment like that, there's a lot of white noise, whether it's a lawnmower or a chainsaw or an air compressor or, you name it. If there's competitive distractions in the market, there's white noise. So if you're a brand that's trying to isolate that white noise and keep your browser on rails, almost like with blinders on, then we're ideal for that experience, because we hook the browser where they live out in the marketplace and we bring them to the product with blinders on. All they're seeing is brand controlled content along the pathway, and then a real clear button they can push, like that call to action button. It's critical. It's absolutely critical. So we're going to shine in environments where you have independent dealers, complex products, crowded, busy, white noise sort of marketplace at the dealer level. Really exacerbates the need for keeping the experience on rails.
Totally agree. All right, looks like we have another question here. Let's see. How does PowerChord benefit the dealers? And so the first thing that I think of, these dealers, these local resellers, is that PowerChord is one more opportunity we found online. So you've got your local site now. You've got the support from a brand to do this. And in a lot of what we've seen, I think, and you can probably speak to this better than I can, Kevin, is that a lot of these local dealers and local resellers aren't the most digitally savvy. So they're really concentrated on operating a business, making hires, making sure that process to buy, the in-store process is really smooth. Time left to run a website that's up to date with correct product details, to run a local digital marketing campaign and have the expertise of everything it takes to execute on all the different opportunities in that advertising space today, whether it is through social, whether you're retargeting, remarketing, display advertising, all the different ways that we can advertise at the local digital level aren't always readily accessible to local dealers. So for me, in my mind, it's one more way to be found easily online, and it's a turnkey solution that's got support from the brand that really makes it easy for those inexperienced local mom and pop shops to participate in this online digital marketplace.
Yeah, some really good points there, Patrick. I think the terms like easy button and turnkey speak really clearly to a lot of the dealers, especially your smaller dealers that are trying to juggle a lot of things. You nailed it. I mean, they're worried about everything from cracks in the asphalt in the parking lots and payroll and things like that. And to expect any kind of digital proficiency out of, say, your average dealer is probably expecting a little bit too much. Like, they're going to be steeped in knowledge and wisdom around the products they sell or the services they provide. But once you get outside of that periphery, it's outside of a lot of folks' core competencies. Add on to that a lot of brands aren't really coaching or managing or recommending best practices, much less expecting it. So if you're not modeling the kind of behavior that you want, if you're not giving them a script or a recipe, recommendations for what they should be doing, a lot of times it isn't getting done. And specifically, we get this feedback around the inefficient use of co-op advertising. rising. It would surprise a lot of folks to learn that like the national average is around 25% of all available co-op funds actually get spent. And we see as much as 28 and 33 in some high functioning environments. And we see a dismal 15 and 18 in others. So, blended averages in that 22 to 25 range. But that means that most of the money that is made available is not getting used. And if you look further into that, of the money that is being used, where is it going? It's pretty dismal. Like there's a lot of low return channels, antiquated channels that are still being leveraged. And that's really unfortunate. And I attribute a lot of that to folks just don't know better. It's not in their wheelhouse or core competency. So we want to get out there and make recommendations. We want to take investments from these dealers and apply them in really sensible areas and move the needle and actually show them results. I think that's how it benefits the dealers. Not only is it the easy button, but it's like a prescription. Like this is the thing that you do to cure that, and a lot of folks want that, and they want it tethered to their co-op program. They want the channels already determined for them. In fact, they want to know that somebody's taken the time to understand the digital analytics in their market space, that they understand like what the bell curve is of click traffic in their industry. They want it to match the dealer wants it to match the media calendar of the brand. And all of these things are like really critical decisions that have to be made, usually made by, like say, us and the brand or an agency and the brand on behalf of the dealers. So the ability to not have to understand it all and still be high functioning is one of the major value props of this entire thing. As well as, heck, it's a CRM to see where the leads are. I mean, how great is that? Just log in and see if you've got a list of leads and they're actionable and you can keep track of them. Pretty fantastic byproduct.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. It looks like we have one more question in the chat. Can PowerChord play well or integrate with the other marketing initiatives I currently use? And I will say this simply, yes. So PowerChord, our platform, is actually built to integrate with other marketing tools and actually play as a part of a marketing ecosystem. So we've identified with some of the brands we work with and some of those other tools that are out on the market, namely CRMs. So think HubSpot, think Salesforce, and also marketing automation tools like Marketo that are used to send emails and drip campaigns and follow up with customers and do nurturing. Those tools are really powerful and do a lot of good things, but they all tend to have a blind spot when we're talking about this lead distribution and lead management piece. And so this component of our platform is super powerful because it does unlock features that all of your distributed network can use to manage leads, to find lead reports, to move leads through a pipeline, and to feed that information back up to a top-level brand. And those are things that aren't readily available or aren't features at all in some of these popular products. So what we can do is help plug our platform into that so that as updates are being made at the dealer level, at the local reseller level, all that data feeds back into a commercial CRM. All that data feeds back in so that your corporate campaigns, those things that you've worked really hard at your brand level to build out and make sure are nurturing, all those things can still be fired off on these local leads, but it's integrating that power of allowing the local level to work those leads that really brings this whole thing together and makes it really work as part of a marketing ecosystem.
I like how you answered that with regard to APIs and integration. So if you're a brand and you're thinking and concerned about all the interconnectivity of all the things that you're managing, you want to make sure they all talk, they don't break each other. You want to make sure that if you're investing in hours, it's not something you already paid for somebody else and all that. So I love that angle. The other way that I'd say we should look at it too is through the dealer that we just spoke about a minute ago. So I spoke about a dealer that maybe didn't have a core competency in digital marketing and understand what was needed to show up online. We also have dealers on the far other end of the spectrum, like huge dealers, Caterpillar and John Deere and folks like that, who really understand the game very well and might be spending tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the space. They're managing keyword stacks and taking care of all sorts of complex campaigns. So when we roll into an environment like that and say, we have this one product that we're here to talk to you about a campaign for, If you're interested in splintering off that activity, we will manage that piece for you. And we find all the time folks say, yeah, you manage that keyword stack around that product type. That's one less campaign one less ball I have in the air. And oh, by the way, that campaign is being managed through a lead generation or a lead management portal. It's the easiest piece they have to monitor because they have all the typical analytics, but then they also have it in this safe, tidy little lead platform where they just click at it and look and see what their leads are. All the other activity they're driving is disparate, and it's going to the sales staff, and they're relying on it showing up in like Salesforce, where ours shows up in ours and then portals to Salesforce. Super clean. So even for the most sophisticated dealers, it's one of the most accessible and ergonomic and complementary like lead management platforms they deal with. And we regularly have digital departments for those big agencies say, yes, please manage that keyword stack. I'll sever that and I'll focus on all the rest of the stuff that I need to do. So it really truly is easy to integrate from either the brand or the dealer level.
Perfect. And that looks like it concludes the questions we have in our chat. So I know we ran a little over time today, but it was really nice to be able to share some of this stuff that we see coming. So keep these trends in mind. Think about what you can do to really up your game when it comes to your digital presence. And, run the Google Lighthouse tool sometime in the next few weeks on your current sites. And see those recommendations. Make sure you're doing what you can on the accessibility front. So we appreciate you all joining today, and we hope you have a good rest of your week.